I feel like some of you have been waiting for me to make this video for a hot sec, and I wanted to around my birthday in December, but better late than never. Folks, I finally did it. I made a Hear Me Out cake. And by made, I mean I bought a discounted Valentine's Day cake from the grocery store and stuck a bunch of oversized toothpicks in it. A delicious red velvet cake, to be fair. They actually used cream cheese frosting for it, which makes it legit. Freaking love cream cheese frosting. For those of you not familiar with what Hear Me Out cakes are, the trend blew up on TikTok where folks would print and cut out pictures of niche, odd, unconventional crushes, be it fictional characters or celebrities, and then put them on a stick and stick them in the cake.
That's my dad!
The whole point of it is you're usually playing with friends, and you're like, okay, hear me out. This is why I find this character or person or whatever attractive. Oftentimes, it's old childhood crushes you had back when you were a kid or like in middle school, or they're just characters that you're drawn to for one reason or another. And depending on how you want to play it, it doesn't have to be like a sexual thing. You can just be like, yeah, I think they're weirdly hot for whatever reason, or I'm gravitating towards their vibes or energy. Sometimes people do make it more about like a smash or pass though. But yeah, you show off your character for all to see, put it in the cake, and then your friends are either like, what? Why? No. Or, hang on, I see the vision. You're cooking here. As for why it's on a cake specifically, I don't have a concrete answer, but I did find this on Reddit, which could be a plausible explanation. I believe it originally started out as a smash cake. Smash cake is typically done for a 1-year-old's birthday. They get to smash up a cake and make a big mess. Someone decided to switch it up to an adult version, and they took the game Smash or Pass and combined it with the cake. Easy way to display the characters you'd want to do the bongo bongo with on little sticks and fun play on words. At some point, one of the people in the video said, okay, but hear me out on this one, and it switched over to being the hear me out cake trend. Yeah, I could see it, makes sense. The slow evolution of it, the glorious evolution of it. Some people play it really safe when it comes to hear me out cakes and only stick with like actors or live action characters that nearly everyone can agree are conventionally attractive. And I don't want to judge too harshly, but I do kind of have to roll my eyes a bit because I'm like, you're missing the point. That's not a hear me out cake. And then along a similar vein, we have the folks whose wildest hear me out is like a Disney prince or an attractive animated human character, and they're like, well, I mean, they're not real, so it's like kind of weird, right? Oh, honey, to see life through your unblemished eyes. But yeah, after that initial hurdle, we get to some of the juicier picks. A lot of Tumblr sexy men actually end up on a lot of these hear me out cakes, surprise, surprise. A lot of hear me outs I can at least understand, even if they don't spark joy for me personally, like the ocean from Moana or the Pixar lamp. It do be bouncing though. Hang on. And then there are some picks that just throw me for a complete loop, like numbers, equations, objects.
The concept of time. Oh!
I guess there is something innately satisfying about seeing 8 times 6 equals 48. Some folks even break out spray bottles to spritz their friends with if their hear me outs are either too popular, too conventionally attractive, or too human-shaped. Which I kind of have to laugh and respect because many of the hear me out cakes out there are not even hear me out cakes. But yeah, the whole point of the hear me out characters and people you pick is that it constitutes you needing to say, okay, hear me out, and depending on how freaky your friend group is, it can vary. And if you know me at all at this point, then you can likely infer that my hear me out cake is gonna be a little funky. I definitely don't think it's gonna be the craziest hear me out cake out there because I've seen some genuinely heinous ones. But get this, I technically did 2 hear me out cakes. The first round will consist of the more popular, conventionally attractive hear me out pics I've seen on these cakes, a lot of which I'm just like, that's just common sense. Kind of like a warm-up that'll get steadily more and more unhinged. And then the second round will be my personal hear me out pics that I haven't really seen out there, which will also start out fairly normal and then get more and more unhinged. I tried to steer as far away from more human-shaped characters just because I want to dig deep with this, and there are a lot of childhood crushes on here. Without further ado, let's cut the cake. Kicking this off nice and easy, we have pretty much any Disney prince and or villain, honestly. I adore Flynn Rider or Eugene. He's probably my favorite. I mean, the man was designed to be attractive for crying out loud. But yeah, easy peasy stuff. Another really easy pick is Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians. The guy completely took over Tumblr back when I was in high school. The ask blogs, the fan art, the cosplays. He was voiced by Chris Pine for crying out loud. He's just a mischievous little scamp, and I was not immune to the Jack Bifrost propaganda back then. This one's not even a hear me out, it's Tadashi from Big Hero 6. The guy's a smart, hot grad student who loves his little brother. What more do you want? Not a very adventurous pick, but a lot of people love him and put him on their cakes, so. Alright, next up is the Bone Daddy himself, Jack Skellington. Irresistible with that singing voice and those Tim Burton proportions. Now this fish has got me hooked. It's Prince Sidon from Breath of the Wild. Big oversized puppy of a shark boy. I mean, he's adorable. And hey, you know what sharks have two of? Sets of teeth. And another easy pick is Lola Bunny from Space Jam. The amount of people I've heard say that this was their awakening as a kid is astounding. Hopping around in all our heads rent-free. Now it's time for the cereal mascot, Tony the Tiger. Honestly, kind of wild seeing how feral folks can get for him, but hey, look, I get it. This tiger's voice melts butter. The Grinch was a fool for giving him up. If you know, you know. This is a very self-indulgent pick and the easiest gimme of the cake in my opinion. But it's Machine Harold Victor from Arcane or League of Legends. Look at this motherfucker's waistline. The cheeky blanket covering next to nothing, the split body horror face and extra arm, oh my god. I need him biblically, get a load in this guy. Next up, we have Jake Sully, or any of the Na'vi honestly, from Avatar. They're big tall alien blue cat people, who can telepathically connect with each other through tentacles in their hair, are you kidding me? Take me back to when all those Jake Sully edits were going viral on TikTok. After some adjustments here, say it with me now. I am Optimus Prime, and I send this message to any surviving Autobots taking refuge among the stars. We are here. We are waiting. I'm letting you all know that about a third of my TikTok For You page is just thirst edits of Optimus Prime. No shame. Another awakening for a lot of folks out there was Kovu from Lion King 2. I honestly think this may have been my first bad boy crush. He changes his ways and then his leg we can start a pride all our own with Kiara. Dude! Yeah, this lion definitely did something to my brain as a kid. Oh my god, and here's another big one, Spirit the horse from Spirit. He's just a very brave horse who wants to get home to his mom, who falls in love along the way. That whole montage of him and Rain together, when they drop off the waterfall and he's comforting her, thinking she's dying and refusing to leave her side, and they're reunited in the end, running towards each other with their love theme blaring in the background. God, sorry, did not mean to lose it over a cartoon horse, but I love this movie, and I 100% did read fanfiction for it and made little horse OCs. Here's a more recent popular pick. It's Death, straight up, from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Look at him with that debonair smile. The terrifying aura, his voice, his unrelenting pursuit, hell yeah. Next up, we've got Gil from Finding Nemo, voiced by none other than Willem Dafoe. Brooding mentor figure fish who just wants to get home to the ocean, willing to do whatever it takes until it goes too far. But yeah, he's just got this cool presence about him, hiding out in his dark skull. I think there's a popular human AU where him and Marlin get together and raise Nemo together. It's really cute. Up next is King Koopa Bowser. He's big, he's menacing, he's possessive, he's a dad, and he just wants love at the end of the day. I'm wishing him and Luigi the best. And here we've got another Rise of the Guardians pick. It's the Easter Bunny, voiced by Hugh Jackman. He's a big guy, he's prideful, he throws boomerangs. Lots of folks also had crushes on him back in the day, and yeah, I just think he's neat. This one made me feel something vividly as a kid. It's the Prince of the Forest from Bambi, aka Bambi's dad. Bambi honestly scared me a bit as a kid. That rain scene was terrifying, but I'll never forget how I felt when I saw the Prince of the Forest come on screen. He really shines in Bambi too, though. Like, his voice in that movie, goddamn. Him trying his best as a single dad was really endearing. This one's a no-brainer for anyone who likes monsters. It's Venom from Marvel. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at him. Those teeth, that tongue, the black ooze. Oh my god. This freaky alien symbiote has got it going on, and he knows it. No comments necessary. Okay, pulling up with the Tumblr sexy man representation here is Bill Cipher in all his wacky shapes and forms. This Eldritch demonic little triangle has something going for him. So simple and yet so satisfying. I lovingly want to hit him with a bus. This pick may be a bit elusive to people who haven't seen Hotel Transylvania, but it's the Invisible Man. For a long time, people were speculating that he'd be really hot in his non-invisible form, only to be sadly disappointed. But in his invisible form at least, very mysterious. He's more than just a floating pair of glasses, hear me out. He's fun, he's neat, I like him. And to wrap up our first cake, we have the Xenomorph from Alien. They're so cute with their little underbite and big head. It strikes so much fear into my heart in the best way possible. A classic monster if I've ever seen one. And that is our first Hear Me Out cake. All of the more popular pics I've seen floating around out there, I can definitely get on board with. Now it's time for Hear Me Out cake number 2, Electric Boogaloo, aka all of my personal picks. The first Hear Me Out is one of my very first fictional crushes. It's the Jack Frost puppet from those old stop-motion Christmas specials. A second Jack Frost has arrived on the scene. He'll always have a special place in my heart. Oh my god, now this was my true brain-altering awakening as a kid. It's the Nutcracker Prince Eric from Barbie Nutcracker. He's just so cute. Look at his clunky wooden body. And then he gets turned into his normal human self, which was a little disappointing, but... And when Clara gets whisked away back into the real world and he's calling out for her, reaching for her, saying he loves her, that was my first visceral experience with heartbreak in media. It changed me. I will fight for this funky wooden guy. He's just so comforting. The first 2 picks are Christmas-centric. Love that. Next up for the cake, we've got the centaurs from the Chronicles of Narnia. I remember when I was watching the Chronicles of Narnia for the first time way back when, I was weirdly drawn to them. I guess if you give hot people horse bodies, it's like, sure, why not? Next up, we've got Jack from Jack in the Box. I feel like this has a similar allure to why those book talk girlies go for those masked bikers. And have you seen the fan art of him where he's just f***ing ripped? And that funny mascot head just adds some sort of silliness or whimsy to his sex appeal, you know? And the voice. Sure, talk to me about those sandwiches you're selling, Jack. I'm listening. Since we're on a food tangent, next up is Mr. Mint from Candyland. This is like if Jack Skellington and the Once-Slayer got freaky and somehow Peppermint Butler from Adventure Time got involved. Weirdly enough, I'm pretty sure I crafted some fanfic of him and Queen Frostine back in the day where they had like a forbidden love affair. I feel safe with him, like he'll protect me with his peppermint axe. Next up, we've got Bumblebee from Transformers. Listen, I know we already had Optimus, but I had to make space for Bumblebee. He's my favorite, and one of my very first self-insert fics I ever read was for Bumblebee X like a self-insert OC. He's just so cute. Look at his little face. He gives me such violent cuteness aggression. As we're on the topic of aliens, next up is Big Chill from Ben 10. Honestly, a lot of the aliens from Ben 10 could get it. Like, they were living rent-free in my head as a teenager. But Big Chill in particular had a very special place in my brain. He's like if Elsa and Mothman had a child. A really cool child. That whole episode too when Ben got taken over because Big Chill had to have babies. Oh my god, when he was nesting and shit, maybe that's what started me down the Omegaverse rabbit hole. It all makes sense! Next up, we've got Turnip Head from Howl's Moving Castle. I always felt bad about his unrequited love for Sophie. Like, obviously you can't compete with Howl, but because of that, I would read fics where he got a happy ending with some girl he met later on. But there's just something so charming about his scarecrow form. Very welcoming, very sweet. And that snatched waist? This is a bit of a wild choice, but I'm gonna roll with it. It's Beetleman, or the Beetle from Thumbelina, voiced by none other than Gilbert Gottfried. And so he's like, hiya, toots! There was just something about him, man. Is it the color scheme? Is it his poofy pants or his cane? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. There was this super long fic I read on fanfiction.net years ago where he gets a whole redemption arc. He goes on a valiant quest with some girl, and I don't remember if the girl was like a fairy or an insect. Either way, that really left an impression on me for him. And I'm like, you know what? I can fix him. He's kind of an asshole, but he's salvageable. I don't even remember this guy's name. He's like the pollution oil slick guy from Fern Gully. Listen, he's kind of gross. He's really bad for the environment. But I mean, that oily body, that jawline, there's something going on. Another throwback pic. It's Sagwa's mom from Sagwa. I mean, look at her eyeliner, her jewelry. She is tea. Absolutely serving at the Chinese Imperial Palace. Are you kidding me? She's perfect. Now, Car's characters are pretty common on Hear Me Out cakes, from Doc to Mater, but the car I have my eyes set on is the King in Dynaco Blue, baby. He's a racing vet, he's got that charming southern accent, he's experienced, he's mature, he's ready to retire with his wife, Car. He was always the one where I was just like, him. I want him. I'm rooting for this guy. Ah, he just does it for me. Since we're talking about Disney still, the next pick is Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. Look, guys, he's hot. All jokes aside, he's so self-assured. He's so helpful and welcoming to Belle. He's charismatic, and I am certain that I did find fanfics for him in the Feather Duster. Another funky little guy to add to the roster is Spampton from Deltarune. He's attractive in the sense that I want to wad him up into a little ball and then chuck him out a window, only for him to bounce back and we repeat the process. Is that weird? That's weird. I'm gonna leave that in. He's just so silly and bullyable, and the fan impressions of him do a really good job of selling him more as a character for me. Next up is Karen from SpongeBob, aka Plankton's computer wife. I always thought the voice waves on her screen were really cute, and the way she's always rolling after Plankton, like, dude, what the f are you doing? She's bossy, she's smart and capable. I love a computer wife. Now, honestly, there are a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and monsters that can get it, but for time's sake, I narrowed this down to 3 of my favorite dragons from Yu-Gi-Oh! Bude, or the Blue Eyes White Dragon, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and Stardust Dragon. Honestly, it was so hard to pick. Pretty much any dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like, yes! Slifer especially, with that double jaw and the windy body, goddamn! But again, so many great Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards to choose from. Next up are the White Martians from DC. The Green Martians are great too, but listen, when I first saw Miss Martian transform into her true form in Young Justice, I was like, oh no. I love any sort of alien that can shapeshift, and the White Martians, they're freaky looking in the best way. Next, we have someone with kind of a similar look. It's Toa of Air from Bionicle. My brother had all the Bionicles when we were growing up, and so we'd play with them, but there was just something about this green guy. I always thought his weapons were really cool. He's got some pizzazz. If I had to smash a Bionicle, it'd be this one. This next one I randomly remembered when I was trying to think of weird creatures I used to have a fixation on. It's Heibai from Avatar. I don't know, it's just something about those extra arms and teeth, I guess. He's really passionate about nature, okay? We've got another weird creature coming up. It's Rothbard in his monster form from The Swan Princess. He's like a giant green Nosferatu bat. When I saw him tussling in the forest with Prince Derek, I was like, oh. Dare I say, he's a bit He appears in a poof of smoke and then he starts wrecking His human form, but his monster form. Alright, y'all really have to hear me out for this one, and it's more of a comfort, cute thing than anything, but it's the map from Dora the Explorer. I want to make it clear that I don't want to smash. I don't even think it's physically possible. I loved his voice growing up. He was always so helpful, and there is something weirdly satisfying about the way he's all rolled up. Maybe this is a subconscious thing because they've always been directionally challenged. And along a similar wavelength, here to wrap up Hear Me Out cake number 2 is the magic carpet from Aladdin. MVP of the entire movie, honestly. He's reliable, he's bendy, he's purple, he does everything he can to help out Aladdin, and those tassels? Absolutely fabulous. He's got so much character. Take me on a magic carpet ride. And there we have it for our second Hear Me Out cake. Well, I hope you enjoyed the cake. What are your thoughts on all of my choices, both for round 1 and round 2? Have you made your own Hear Me Out cake before? If so, then what was on it? And if you haven't, then do you want to give it a try? Anything that surprised you? Anything that you're like, yeah, I get that? Or anything where you're like, Coley, what the f***? As always, if you'd like to see more fandom and fan culture-esque videos from yours truly, then feel free to subscribe. And if you want to check out my fanfiction recommendations spreadsheet with over 1,000 fanfics on there, as well as watch exclusive videos you can't find on my channel, then head on over to my Patreon or YouTube memberships. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! 안녕.